Coach Chippy, how are you, my friend?
Kendra, how are you doing? I'm flowing today. Of course we're flowing. We're flowing. We're always
I'm
flowing.
great. You know what? I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, I better like get ready. I'm getting on with the coach. And in my experience, like getting on with coaches means you gotta be presentable and stuff. And then I was just sitting there and I was like, don't think, just flow. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna rival you today. I'm gonna get the flow out and I'm gonna show up, make you feel at home.
I love it. The flow's looking great. I
Thank
was doing
you.
I was trying to get prepared too. You can see in the background. I got all the It's a mess back here. This is where I
I love it.
record all my videos, and
I love it.
I had to cover it with jerseys. There's stuff underneath all the jerseys. It's just covered right now.
I
So
did I did the token, like, lean the artwork on the wall back here and put a
yeah,
plant kind of in the picture so I'm not just whitewashed behind me, and we'll make it look like it was made to happen.
that's awesome. I put a little hockey stick there too.
I like it.
I
I
was getting
like
the
it.
background set up for
You know
this.
what I should have done? I should have pulled it over. True Hockey hooked me up with a whole set of gear a couple of days ago for the Road Hockey to Conquer Cancer. So
Let's
I am
go.
like, I'm dramatically trying to work in a new goalie glove right now, and like it's in and out of the oven. And I was like, I should just sit here. He would totally appreciate it if I was working my gloves in while we did this.
I know. Yeah, I guess you have to work those in because
They're
they're
horrible. I mean,
yeah,
players have it too easy. You guys just have it too
yeah.
easy.
Yeah,
One
we
one
don't
of the many things.
I don't like getting new gloves though. I was never a fan of getting new equipment, like new gloves, shin pads. Only one I like to get was the stick. Like that was the only thing I like to
That's
get that
fair.
was new.
That's fair.
Everything
They
else, you
even
don't wanna break it in.
no. I think I was that goalie that never wanted the newest gear. I was like, "No, don't ever touch my gear. Just please don't." But True's hooked me up, so now I got to get into all their stuff and I'm excited about it, but I am like desperately working it in before the games on Saturday. So we'll see how that goes for me.
Yeah, True just hooked me up with a nice pair of custom skates. I gotta get those broken in.
Aren't they
I'm
pretty?
pretty excited for those. I'm actually just looking at the box right now. The
It,
box came with super nice too.
I know, and like
Shout out
that's
to
the
True.
I was like unboxing it and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like they sent me the skates too, and I was unboxing. I'm not gonna lie though, I haven't even like I just am so overwhelmed by it all right now, and I haven't been on ice since they gave them to me yet. So I'm gonna have to get on ice.
That's me
That's
too. We're in the same boat. I don't think I've been
let's
on the
rent some
ice
ice.
in a while. We gotta rent some ice for
Let's do it.
sure.
We're in. We're in.
Okay, we're in. We're locked in.
Okay. Let's jump on here. So we met not all that long ago. I mean, we have Mitch Marner and the Assist Foundation to thank for this introduction. And I stood in the hordes of kids that were surrounding you to say hey before I took off there. And we had a quick chat, and I'm just like, I'm so thrilled to sit here and just have a conversation with you about your story, your journey, how you've gotten to where you're at, and kind of what's at the heart of it all. What's behind the TikTok and behind the Insta, and who is Coach Chippy, and how did we end up here? So let's just dive right in. I mean,
Let's do it.
tell me a bit about the coach growing up.
Yeah, I get growing up, it was you can kind of see with the skits I've been posting recently, the Coach Chip in school and elementary school. I grew up playing AAA hockey, so hockey was ingrained. I think I was on skates at the age of 2. My dad had me in the Leafs jersey and on skates, so he was gonna get me in
Even
it
ended in the right
early.
jersey. Good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the right jersey, and I remember when I first got on the ice, I couldn't use both my legs. My right leg was stronger than my left, so I would get out there and I would just be doing a one leg push, but I was good with my one leg, so I would just be out there like almost like on a scooter.
Yeah.
And my
Love
dad
it.
was like, "Oh, like I was good. I could do the stick handling. I was
Keep
above
pushing in circles or
exact. No,
like
I had it like I had the technique. It was just a one leg like, and I remember my dad was like, "Yo, you got to learn how to skate with the other leg." And
it's
then we ended up
overrated.
yeah, it's overrated. My right leg is still way more dominant, but it was the same when swimming lessons. When I'd be swimming, I would only kick with my one leg. It would just be like the other leg. That the instructor was like, I think I didn't pass my swimming lessons one year because I couldn't kick with the other leg. It was just my one leg was. So I'm trying to develop some coordination in my other leg, but
I
we'll
like it.
see. I'm still working on that. But yeah, it was my dad had me on skates age 2, and then I was taking lessons, and then by 5 I got to be like really good. Like I was really good, like better than my peers, I guess at that age. So I was playing
Yeah.
house league, and I remember we'd play Saturday, Sunday. There'd be a Saturday practice and then Sunday game. It was house league. We were 5 years old. I remember it was at the NTR, and it was a smaller ice, and it was like just I think it was 5v5. I think it was, and I remember my dad went out, it was the one night, and he was like, "Yeah, just" he's like, "If you just" he's like, "If you just skate around and just go around the kids, go around the net and just kinda hold it a little longer." He was trying to tell he was, like, trying to explain to me, I was like, "Dad, whatever, like, I'm not listening to you." And then the next game, I actually listened to him, I'd skate around the net, and I would just skate all everyone would just be standing there like pylons, and I would skate that little extra, get the goalie off his angle, and I would shoot it, and I remember I scored 13 goals in 1 game,
So
and
goalies like myself have your father to thank for making us
yes,
look good. Okay. Got it.
exactly.
Got it.
So 13 goals in 1 game, and then so I was pretty like, I was pretty elite player at that age at 5. I was a really good player, and then I ended up playing, novice AAA, and then all the way up to until I got to grade 9, I was AAA. We had a really good team. I was playing for the Barrie Colts. We went to back-to-back OMHA finals. I think we were number 2 in Ontario at one point. Like, we had a really good team. And yeah, I just grew up playing hockey my whole life. And then once grade 9 hit, I was like not the biggest kid. I was small. Like I was very small. Like it was these kids are 100 pounds heavier than me, and they're heavier than me now in grade 8 than I am now. So like
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
explained. Like these like I was playing against men, and I think I was like 90 pounds soaking wet, and these kids were
Yeah.
all like 180 pounds. So I was chippy though. That's why they got my name.
I love it.
I wasn't fun to play against.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was grade 9 dropped down to double A. Then I played double A from grade 9 to grade 10. And then I kind of was focusing more on school. Then I was like, I don't really need to play double A even. It's still like if you drop down double A, it's the same thing as triple A. It's the
Yeah.
same travel, it's the
Yeah.
same schedule.
Same commitment.
So it's the same commitment. So then I just was like, like grade 11 and 12, like I was just gonna stop playing. But my dad's like, nah, just go play house league with your buddies. And then
Yeah.
those were probably the funnest years I had playing hockey because I
Yeah.
was like, there's no more stress. There's no you can just take the puck for a skate. It doesn't matter. Coaches aren't gonna tell you whatever. And yeah, so I played house league grade 11 and 12, and then yeah, ended up graduating and went to university, continued playing some intramural hockey. We won the intramural championship,
Amazing.
and then now we're in the men's league. So now
I
I'm
love
just
it.
and I haven't even been playing. I gotta find a new team, or I don't know if the season's starting up, but yeah, I'm excited to continue playing some hockey, but it slowed down a little bit, a little less
Yeah.
hockey. That's the
Yeah.
hockey journey.
Okay. And so school got through, and I mean I've obviously done a little bit of my homework, and I mean great guy in school, like had good grades, did well in school, went to
Mhm.
university. How where did we go from there?
Yeah, well, school was interesting because when I was playing the AAA hockey in like elementary school, my schooling, I didn't really put a lot of
Yeah.
um emphasis on it. So like we weren't the best students. We'd be missing class. We like it wasn't really a priority, but
Rightfully though.
yeah.
Rightfully missing class.
Yeah, rightfully we got tournament teach. Sorry, missing Monday. We're missing Thursday and Friday actually.
And then probably need Monday off to recover.
And then Monday to recover, didn't get any of the
Yeah.
homework done,
Yeah.
and we probably need a couple extra days to study for the
Yeah.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like yeah, elementary school, I wasn't too focused on it. I was more into the sports. And
Yeah.
then once grade 9 hit, my parents, they had both gone to university, so it was like that's kind of what the path I was gonna take. And my mom was super, like, on to the schooling for me. Like, it was like, "No, we need to get these marks because you need" because my sister went to university, so she knew you gotta get your marks in
Yeah.
high school to get
Yeah.
to university. So, I mean, grade 9, you probably the grade 9 marks don't matter too much, but I guess it was like she was like, "No, your grade 9 marks matter." And so, yeah, I just got really focused on the school in high school, and that's kind of like all I was really focusing on. It was just like I learned how to study, I learned how to yeah, perform on tests. 'Cause that's what it all is. Like if you can study, memorize, like I'd memorize everything.
Yeah.
I don't think I was really a good learner, but I was good at like memorizing
Yeah.
and then
And such a
forgetting
huge
about it.
difference, right? Such a huge
Yes.
difference.
It's a
And
massive
something we
difference.
focus on, I think, in the education system today, something that we should actually probably revisit since we still do it the same way we did however many years ago, is that whole notion of, yeah, that's great if you're good at memorizing and producing the same material on a test, but have you truly learned it?
Yeah, no, I didn't learn it. I would forget about it and it would be like boom, next test, next exam or whatever it
Yeah.
was. And that was yeah, that was from grade 9 to grade 12. I was just really focused. I always liked marketing. I was good at like maths, but like I was always kind of more my dad was, in marketing, so, like,
Mhm.
he had the creative brain, and my mom was in accounting, so she had the analytical brain,
Okay.
and I kinda had a little bit of both, like, I was kinda good with the numbers. I didn't love the numbers, but I could do the algebra or whatever,
Mhm.
and then the marketing, there wasn't too many classes. I remember I did a grade 9 drama class.
Yeah.
I think this is where it all started. I think this is
That's
where it
it,
all
eh?
started. It was
Beginning.
grade 9 drama, and we were forced to take it. So, like,
Okay.
every kid needed an art class. It was either you
Yeah.
take, like, art, like painting, or you take drama. So I was
Yeah.
like, all the kids just get their art. You need at least 1 art credit throughout your whole
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
years. So it was like grade 9, everyone just takes drama. They get it out of the way. But I remember we had this one improv unit, and everyone was, like, super, it was such a fun class because 'cause you're just, like, yeah, you're acting, you're doing these
Yeah.
different units, and then I remember I did, like, an improv unit, and that's just where I excelled a little bit. I
I
remember
love
my
it.
teacher was like, "Oh," like, it was me and I think it was me and my other buddy, we were super, like, I guess, outgoing at that point, so the improv was pretty, like, easy to do, and, like, I think I got a 99 in improv. I think that was, like, my the one of my biggest marks in high
Amazing.
school, so it was the and then I just stopped because it was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we don't need to take it anymore. I'm not gonna continue doing this. It's not
Yeah.
cool." It
Yeah.
wasn't the cool thing to do, so I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'll
Not
stop."
cool, won't be lucrative. This isn't gonna be my career.
But realizing looking back now, there's so many things you develop in terms of, like,
Certainly.
conversation, like, if I woulda continued that, I would probably be, yeah, in a different spot even now, like, just with, um, yeah, like, relationship-wise, communicate
Yeah.
it was all it was, like, how you can communicate
Yeah.
with your hands and without talking and then with your
Without your
words.
phone.
Exactly, without your phone. I mean, now it's even crazier, like, we had the phones back then, but it was, like, now it's, like, I don't even know how these kids are doing it, like, coming up with these phones from grade 1 to grade
Yeah.
8, like, we didn't
Yeah.
really have phones then, like, it was all kind of
Oh, it's
you weren't allowed to bring it.
my
Yeah.
5-year-old can probably use my phone better than I can. I think he would probably know how to unlock more on my phone and utilize more on my phone than I do.
Yeah, the phones are it's crazy. I mean, but it's and now it's gotta be like you have to use it. Like if you're in
Certainly.
today's
Yeah.
world, you're coming up. If you don't know how to use it as
You're in trouble.
you're in trouble because it's become such a big part of everything. Like look like we're using technology right now to do this um interview, but there's interviews, work interviews, there's
Yeah.
meetings, everything's now become the virtual side of it. So that's kind of been an interesting shift
It's
and
terrifying.
try
I'm not gonna lie, that whole, like, grade 9 arts piece, you left one out. You could do the art, you could do the drama, you could also do music as your art.
mm,
I hid behind the flute.
the flute.
You didn't see that coming.
I wish I learned how to play. I wish, like, I love music now, so I
Yeah,
wish I learned how to play an instrument because
yeah,
now I just do vocals, but the flute.
and
Tell
the
me about the
flute.
flute.
I think I could probably still pull off "In the Jungle," but that's about it. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, and that's it, and I mean, I like you, I love music, and I wish I was musically inclined because there's, like, it's maybe, like, one of my next to-dos. I'm gonna learn how to play the guitar or
Ooh, I like
something
that. I
just
wanna
because
play
I
the
figure
drums
it's gonna
maybe.
I don't think I have the rhythm for it.
I feel
Like,
like I don't know if
I've
I have it
seen
either,
video
but
of me trying to dance, and I'm like, probably never gonna happen for me."
not a big dancer?
Not a big, I think I had a few days of thinking I was an okay dancer. They were probably the days before I quit drinking
Hmm.
24 years ago. So, it's been a long time since I've considered the way my body moves when music starts to be acceptable, and I
I'm a little
lost
s so you're a little stiff? Are you a little stiff with the movement? I'm a little
I'm
stiff.
just like I'm such like a just I'm just a goalie. Like I'm a goalie. My body moves like a goalie. That's it. I don't know. And maybe and I shouldn't even say that. I'm sure there's great goalie dancers out there somewhere. It's just not me.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
What types of music, though? What types of
I'm a
music do
country
you
girl.
like?
I'm a
Okay.
country girl. Yeah.
Okay, country.
There's nothing I don't like. Like I'll turn on Eminem, I'll turn on like, there's nothing I'm not biased against. I'm not really like death metal. I don't like the, like,
Okay.
incessant screaming. I'm just maybe I'm past that. It reminds me a bit too much of, like, my kids on a bad day. But, otherwise, I mean, I'm a country girl through and through.
Who's like, what artist?
I'm into, like I'm really into Morgan Wallen. I like Zach Bryan. I
Okay.
like that sound right now. That kind
Okay.
of old. Yeah, yeah. You? What's your music? How did we get
I
here?
I
What's your
love this. I
music?
love music. I see music's like I think
Okay.
music's the reason why I'm here. My parents are, like, so different,
Yeah.
but the only thing they can what jive on is
Yeah.
music. They
I
both
love
love
it.
music.
So what
So
is it?
music
What's
I classic
at
rock.
this soul classic rock? Okay. I
Classic
like it.
rock, The Doors. My
Yeah.
dad's a massive Pearl Jam fan, so every game going to the games, it was Pearl Jam, it was
Okay.
Rolling Stones. Gimme Shelter is his license plate, so,
I love
like,
it. I
it's,
love it.
it's
We'll
been
compare dad's license plates. Mine's Goldpaw.
Goalpaw.
Goldpaw. He's a
Who's
goalie
Goalpaw?
dad.
Goalpaw, I
That's what my
like
dad's
that. I
yeah.
like that. You gotta have
Nice license plate.
the cool
I'm
plates.
not gonna lie, like, I even have it, like, tattooed on me,
Oh, that
right
is
there.
sick.
Yeah,
Goalpaw. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. Okay, hijacked. I love it. We are going back to music at some point.
Yes.
However, we got through high school, and now we're kind of at that place where we're discovering somewhere between our, like, analytical brain and our creative drive.
Mhm.
And so those are like polar opposites. So where did that take us to post secondary? Like where did we go in university? What were you taking?
Yeah, so I went into business. So, like, that was kinda like I think I chose the marketing, like, creative a little bit more route. I was thinking
Okay.
well, because I was like business was I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but at
Yeah.
least with a business degree, I was gonna be able to, like
You've got the
I
basics.
got 4 years to, like, do nothing kind of and then figure it out. Like 4 years to kinda, like 'cause you get I think you pick your major in, like, year
Yeah.
4 or something like
Yeah.
that, but I was like, "Alright, business seems like a pretty" I don't know, like, I was doing good in economics when I was in high school, like, it was just
Okay.
kinda like, "Alright," like, I did marketing, it was like, "Okay, I have these kinda different pieces." I wasn't a good writer. Writing
Okay.
was I was never a strong writer. I think I always told myself that, and that's why I wasn't a strong writer, but I just somehow just always had trouble writing essays, being able to, like, conceptualize my ideas on, like, paper. Like, that was I remember I struggled with that, like, heavy in, like, high school, like, writing the essays seemed like the hardest thing
Yeah.
in the world because it
Yeah.
seemed like there was always so many rules with, like,
Yeah.
your thesis, and then you gotta, like I guess, like, now looking back, like, I had a lot of trouble, yeah, like, putting my ideas onto paper and, like, staying consistent with them
Almost like
because
not being able to be creative with it.
not exactly, it was like you gotta structure it, then you have to
Yeah.
have your paragraph, body, conclusion, and,
Yeah.
like, there can be no room for just a talking voice, like, it's gotta be in this, like, educated, like, you gotta go the research papers were I couldn't do them. I
Yeah.
just didn't understand how to take what someone else has already said, and then for me to put it in my own words, but I'm
Yeah.
still, like, taking what the like, it's not my own words
Without
because I don't know what I'm
plagiarizing.
talking
Yeah.
about. I don't know exactly without plagiarizing. 'Cause I'm like, these I don't know anything about the topic, and
Yeah.
I don't know it enough to be able to put it into my own words yet because
Yeah.
I'm was it 16 years old trying to learn about the, what was the one law class? We're doing, like, a research paper on some sort of law, and I'm those papers for me, I couldn't,
Yeah.
I struggled. I got through it, but I'd be asking my sister for my sister could do it. My sister is a lawyer now. So
Okay.
she was kind of, yeah, more
The
inclined with the
plagiarizing
writing.
lawyer.
Yeah, the play exactly. So I'm like, I just couldn't do it. Like, some people just could do it, like, they could put
Yeah.
it in their own words, like, I just
Yeah.
couldn't. Like, creative writing, for sure, let's come up with an idea, let's talk about
Yeah.
but the research papers, the writing was not my strong suit in high school, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll do business," like,
Yeah.
maybe it's more of a creative writing kinda thing,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the choice I made. I was like, "Yeah, like, let's just do the business route,"
Okay.
and kind of figure it out from there. I ended up going to Laurier. Um, and that's where my dad went. So it was like,
Okay.
I had applied other places. I applied to Guelph. I applied to Western,
Mhm.
but Laurier was like a smaller school. Like, it was more chill for me. Like, I wasn't, yeah, too inclined on the partying. Like, yeah, at that point, I definitely was like going there for school. I didn't know anybody. Like, I didn't have any friends going into Laurier. And then I wanted to be on campus. So, like, a big thing was like you want to meet people, like you want to be
Yeah.
on the campus,
Yeah.
and you have like your dorms, then you're gonna meet everyone on your floor. But
Mhm. Mhm.
they ended up I guess there was a lot of people in our class, and I ended up getting the apartment style residence, which was
Okay.
off campus.
Yep.
And then I got thrown in a room well, I think there was 5 was there 4 of us or 5 of us? There was 4 of us living in this like, there was 4 rooms, a kitchen, and I just didn't jive. Like, the one guy was dope, but the other just they weren't sports, they weren't into anything I was interested in.
Yeah.
They had already had friends, like, they were only lived, like, 30 minutes away so they could go home,
Okay.
and they weren't, like, wanting to make new friends,
Yeah.
and so for me, that was tough because, like, I wanted to be, like that's a big setting your first year, like, you're trying to meet people, and they're, like, already have their set friends, and they don't wanna go and do any of the activities with any of the other people, so I
Yeah.
remember that
And,
was,
like,
like, a
looking for that social connection.
yes, and they already had their group, so they were like didn't wanna bring me in, they're like, "Who," like, so it
Yeah.
was, like, kind of a tough situation that first year,
Yeah.
but then I actually met my buddy Mace. He was on the same floor, he was in the same program, and I met him on day 1 when I moved in. I didn't meet him at the residence, I met him at, like, a party, and I was like, "Oh, like, what residence are you in?" He goes, "Oh, I'm in Marshall." I was like, "No way," and I was like, "What program are you in?" He goes, "Oh, I'm in BBA, I'm in business." I was like, "No way," and then I was like, "What floor are you on?" And then he goes, "Floor 3," and I was like, "Yo, I'm on floor 3." So it was
Oh, you're
cool.
my neighbor.
Yeah, he's like, "You're my neighbor," and then, he was into sports too, like, he was bigger into football and stuff, but, like, I was like,
Okay.
"Okay, dope," like, someone in my program, on my floor, like, now I can kinda, like, start building out
Yeah.
this little friend group because that's important, like, at that time, like, you're just
Huge.
trying to, like,
Huge.
meet people, fit in, like, I got no like, a lot of people, they go to school with people or, like, they know someone from their high school, like, I knew nobody, like, it was,
Yeah.
like, no one went to Laurier, which is surprising, but yeah, that was kinda, like, the first year was, like, learning, and then in that BBA program, like, they try to, like, just weed you out, like, the first year they give you these like massive group projects. Like they don't really give you too many, like they don't really guide you at all. Like they're just trying to like take this number and chop it because
Yeah.
next year we can't have this many students here. So they like
Yeah.
it's kind of like just like a grueling process. They make the exams or like they're just like they're in like lectures of like 500 people and you're writing an exam with everyone. Like it was it was definitely like hard on the mental like that. And that was kind of like where my mental journey kind of first started was like I'd never felt like um, a mental health issue at all. Like up until
Yeah.
like grade 12, I was always popular. I was playing with hockey. It was, I was going to the parties. Like I fit in and I was
Yeah.
comfortable. I grew up in Barrie and it was like the spot, but then now I'm at a new place, no friends, and I'm kind of trying to get through this new experience in life. And that's when it,
Mhm.
I think, became overwhelming. I was trying to fit in, I'm trying to drink, and my body doesn't really react well to it.
Yeah.
And then now I'm smoking weed and I'm just trying to fit in with like that whole scene at culture, trying to meet people.
Yeah.
And I remember that like first year was tough because I'm trying to get the marks, trying to meet friends. I'm trying to fit in socializing at these parties when I'm not necessarily comfortable in my own skin yet. And you're
Yeah.
trying to go out. And so instead of, you know, going out and it was like, let's just drink and let's just like
Yeah.
try to like meet people to get some liquid courage. And then the cool thing to do is smoke some weed after. So we're going to smoke. And I remember I think I started smoking I wasn't, like, smoking a ton, but I started in high school, and then
Mhm.
by grade 12, it was like, yeah, that's pretty much all we would be doing. We'd be like, "Hey, like, let's just go, and, we're going to the party, we're smoking, we're going anywhere we're gonna be smoking," and that's kinda where it started, and I kinda identified a lot with, um, like, I was listening to Pink Floyd music. I was like, "Yo, I like" it's like I'm like a edgy kinda stoner kid. I was kinda starting to identify a little bit with it, like the
Yeah.
hippie,
Found a
um
label that fit.
yeah, I was like, "Yo, this is cool. This is like, um, it was like I was like, I'm expanding my consciousness. I can just chill." And I remember that was a big thing was like identifying with like, yeah, the Pink Floyd, the hippie, the kind of
Yeah.
counter. And my dad was like growing up, like he'd gone to Thailand. He had done his thing, and he actually he stopped drinking when I was born. So he stopped drinking, stopped smoking, like everything. Like he was just sober. So he was a really good influence. So he never said don't do it and was never like, "Oh, I'm not gonna tell me really what to do," because as a kid he had gone through the similar experience.
Yeah.
Whereas my mom never smoked. Like she was very straight, narrow, and like
Yeah.
like I was definitely like kind of more my dad, I guess, throughout
Yeah.
that period was like trying to discover myself a little bit. I was smaller kid. You're just trying to like fit in and trying to find yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think it really helped. Definitely first year, the drinking and smoking.
And how did
Um,
that kind of manifest for you? So, like, I mean, there's so many things of it that are telling in terms of like where we're at developmentally and
yeah,
being away from home on our own, having to learn all that. I mean, to get into the physiology of it, human brain doesn't stop developing until we're 25. So,
yeah,
still not even able to really kind of manage our thoughts and our identity and all of these things with full capacity. And now you're also utilizing maybe less than useful coping strategies to kind of give yourself some confidence, almost, it sounds like. And so kind of how did that turn out for you in terms of that first year? Did you identify it? Was it causing anxiety? Was it a depression thing? Was it something you called home about or sought any type of help with? Or
yeah, yeah. That was first. So first year, like I was definitely getting out of my comfort zone in first year. Like I was like I kind of could be this new person because I had no friends. No one knew who my
yeah,
previous self was. And I kind of enjoyed that process because you're getting put in group projects, you're meeting all these different people. You have to show up to these meetings and you got to be reliable. And I remember like I was definitely like dialed in first year. I was like I'm focused. I want to be a good teammate on these projects because all of our marks are on the line. Like this is
yeah,
like
yeah,
we're here, and I was like very focused on the school. Like it was like almost to a point where I was like it was like too much, and I didn't
yeah,
really focus a lot on the other stuff. But when when the other stuff happened, like you're just like it was just you're going out. It was like you're living for those weekends to just get obliterated and wake up on Sunday and you're feeling like crap. And I remember it got overwhelming a little bit with just like the roommate situation was dicey. Like I wasn't jiving at all with them. And it was like
yeah,
this awkward. We weren't talking. And we walk in and we're not even like you're living with someone in your space and you're not even
yeah,
like communicating with them. So I think that became a little overwhelming. And then
yeah. Huge
um
impact.
I remember Fortnite came out, and then all my buddies. So I got my Xbox set up in my room, and I was a gamer kind of growing up. So it was like that was kind of my outlet. I would go in and just like, all right, I'm hanging out with my buddies from home, and I could
Yeah,
just like get on
yeah.
there and chat. And like
Online.
I remember that became like a big connection. And for like that was like the second semester at first year. I was like, yo, I was like, I got my buddies back again, and we're just like, I'm able to just be myself.
Yeah.
And then I remember my buddy also was in. He took a 2 or 4 month trip to China,
Okay.
and so that was like by himself, and this is like we were like 18 at this point.
Yeah.
So I remember I'd be FaceTiming him kind of quite a bit, and we were both kind of going through similar, just like yeah, like I would say like probably depression is really what it was. Like just like what is going on? Everything's changed. It's not like how it used to be, and we'd
Mhm.
be FaceTiming each other and just like yeah, I remember we really connected at that moment and was just like, yeah, like because we had spent every day of high school together. Like we were
Nice.
neighbors and we were just really close. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden we're not hanging out anymore. You're developing these new friends, but he was out in China. I'm over here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not jiving with anyone in this in my dorm. Like I don't really have any friends. Like this is like no one really gets who I am. And I
Yeah.
remember we were kind of going back and forth quite a bit and just yeah, we were there for each other, and I remember that was kind of like yeah, like, shout out to Benny. Benny's, like, yeah, still my best buddy.
Love it.
He's like my brother, so it's like,
Yeah. It's so
I'm
huge to have
yeah.
somebody. So huge.
Yes. It was huge at that moment, especially, like, because of it was such a change,
Yeah.
and, yeah, so I ended up getting through first year. I got all the marks because the big thing was, like, you wanna get into the co-op program in year 2.
Okay.
So it's like you need these marks to be, like, you need, like, high marks to be able to even get considered for the co-op program,
Okay.
where they're gonna place you with a corporation in your industry, and you're gonna be able to get this head start on everyone else, and that was kinda how they labeled it.
Mhm.
So I got the marks I needed to, and then year 2, I was like, oh, like I don't even really want to do this co-op program because it was just like you got to do this interview process at the beginning of the year, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like I was like nervous to do it, and
Yeah.
then my mom's like, no, like just see if you can do it. So it was like the last day you could apply, so I applied, and then now it's like you got to create your resume, and now you got to go do all these interviews,
Yeah.
and then I remember I got like the interview week set up, and then I ended up with then I was so I would get so nervous before every exam. I would get so nervous to the point where I'd be, like, throwing up before an exam.
Yeah.
Like, I remember first year, I started throwing up before exams,
Yeah.
and I never really thought anything of it. I was just like, "Oh, I got super and I'm so attached to this result, and I
Mhm.
need to get this mark," and everything was on grades. Like, grades became just my self-worth was based on what grade I got on this exam,
Yeah.
and, I remember I threw up before an exam and just I wouldn't eat. I would never eat food and, like, before, like, it was just my stomach, but I never didn't know what anxiety was. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know, like, that's what this I was like, "Oh, I'm just nervous,"
Yeah.
and it was,
Yeah.
like, so much pressure on
Yeah.
getting this result, and if you fail, then you're a failure, and
And
so
it's
I
so
ca
weird too, I think, because it kinda gets normalized as an athlete, that whole, like, pre-game nerves, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's not something we worry about, it's not something that's, like, a concern or something we should be, looking into. It's like, "Of course I'm nervous, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this right." That's the expectation.
Yeah, and it became and so I'd perform on the exams. I'd get nervous, then okay, like as soon as the paper got there, I can like focus, and I'd be like like focused on like everything. Like I don't even know who this kid was. I'm trying to find him again. I'm trying to find this focus, but like I would get like so dialed in because I'd study so much and like, but I would wait till like the very last moment to do it to study. I'd be like
Yeah.
2 days before, then I would spend like 7 hours straight like memorizing, and I would like.
Yeah.
So I was never a I was like I think that's like a I don't know if it's a symptom of like ADHD, but like you kind of delay things until there's like a
Mhm.
deadline needed. So
Mhm.
it's like, and I'm even finding that in like with stuff I'm doing today, it's like I'll just
Certainly.
delay stuff until like I
Yeah.
have to do it. And then it's like,
Yep.
okay, so that's kind of with my videos. I give myself like half an hour. Like right after the game, I have half an hour to film this, edit it, and get it out. Like I have that,
Yeah.
and then I can actually do it. Because if I
Yeah.
like don't, like I just don't do it. Like it's just like stuff that doesn't interest you like immediately.
Just gets
It
added to the next to-do list.
just, "Oh, I'll do that later." I'll get bored and
Yeah.
I'll go to sit down and write an email, and then I'll be like halfway through, I'm like, "Ah, let me just save that and just go grab a sandwich and then come
Yeah.
back," and like, that's something as simple as like an email that's 3
Yeah.
sentences. It's
I
like
yeah. I as somebody who lives with anxiety, I mean, you're talking to my heart right now. Like
yes, so
it's so obvious to me because it is very telling of people with anxiety, and I think it's also symptomatic of ADHD. Is that whole it's the kind of paralysis that comes with overthinking, and it's you don't have necessarily even a reason to feel uncomfortable or angsty about something that you're doing, but just as accumulatively until it gets to the end, you can't make yourself do it. And then you make yourself do it, and you're like this huge sweeping sense of relief, but then you realize that you've still got a pile sitting there because
yes.
you've pushed it all back.
Yes, that's exactly, like, kind of what I would like, and I never, like, diagnosed myself, like, I'd never like, mental health wasn't, like my parents never had it, it was never, like they never obviously, they had like, you go but it was never talked about, and it was
Yeah.
never like,
Yeah.
you got anything, like, it was just, like, keep going, and I remember that yeah, that 2nd year or whatever, I was applying for these things, and I was going into these interviews so nervous, my palms are sweating, like, I
Yeah.
gotta perform well in this interview, and I remember, like, I got in there, and like, the first couple I was nervous for, and then I remember, like, I went in, and the one guy was a hockey guy. He
Hmm.
was like, it was for this one firm, he was and so we ended up the interview was just him talking hockey with me, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, like, that was dope," like, that was kind of a
Yeah.
cool,
I can do this.
I could and so I remember the next interview I went in, I was like, "Ah, I'm just gonna keep it chill, like, I'm just gonna remember all my confidence I had when I was playing hockey in the AAA days, when I was, like, this AAA confident player because I was very confident as a kid, you're growing up,
Yeah.
you're the best at a sport, you're at recess, you're just confident, and I
Hmm.
guess I slowly started to derail that confidence in myself
Yeah.
throughout high school, um, and I remember I was like, "Oh, I got a little confidence back," and then I did really well in these interviews, and then I ended up getting, like, 4 job offers um,
Amazing.
out of that interview process just because the last 4 I just kept I was myself. I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, let me just, like,
Yeah.
be chill and talk and, like, be less stressed if I get the job or if I don't, but let me just, like, have a good conversation with this person."
Yeah.
And that was like, "Oh, okay, I got these offers," and then, I actually got, like, a marketing offer that was really good fit,
Okay.
but it was in a different spot, so in the summertime, I'd have to, like, move and be somewhere else,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Ah, I don't wanna do that."
Yeah.
So then I got a job in Barrie, but it was an accounting firm,
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, I'll just accept the accounting job so I could be around my friends and I could go back home for the summer and not have to worry about getting a new spot."
And I mean, you already know you can do it. I mean,
Yeah, I
whether
was
or
like,
not it was your passion, you alluded to being good with numbers, and I mean, you can always ask mom if you can't sort it out.
exactly. So I was like, "Oh, let's just do this. This will be great." And
Yeah.
then that was the wrong choice. That was
Yeah.
not I went into like day 1. It was just the environment. It just was like you're in a box, you're in a cube. You can't everyone's a hierarchy, everyone who you can speak with or like how much they don't really have time for you as a co-op student. And I didn't know anything.
Mhm.
I'm sitting in here like they didn't provide any like training. I don't
Yeah.
even know how to do my own taxes and I'm doing someone's corporate tax return, and I'm like, "Guys, I literally don't even know how to balance the balance sheet." Like, I'm like, I've only learned what, the university exam has told me, and I memorized
Let's maybe
everything.
not name where you were
Yeah, I
where you
won't
were
name,
co-oping so nobody
but
goes back and checks out whose,
oh
corporate
my
tax returns were done that
yes.
year.
I remember it was bad. It was bad. I'm sitting there, and but then you have everything's a billable hour.
Yeah.
So it's like you had to bill your hours out. So I'd be like, I spent 7 hours on this file and nothing got done. And they're like, and they're charging the company. They're charging
Yeah.
these like, and I'm like, I shouldn't even be having billable hours right now because
Yeah.
you guys haven't taught me anything. I'd be going knocking on the door. And this is when I really was like, started to kind of like develop like anxiety of just like not like fitting and not knowing what I'm doing
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
feeling bad about asking people for help and just feeling kind of like helpless like oh I can't do this and I no one's helping me and I've not been trained and I'm like and then at that point I was still smoking a ton and I think my dad actually ended up having he started like getting these like heart kind of thing and he was like concerned he was playing ball hockey and he's like he started feeling something in his heart
Mhm.
and at that point, he was going in. He had to go in and get he got his heart checked out where they put stuff the dye through the heart to see if there's any
Yeah.
blockages.
Yeah.
And I remember that came back and it was like he's gonna have to have triple bypass surgery.
Okay.
And that was like a big kind of like awakening in my like mind. And it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like that's serious. My
Yeah.
grampy had it, he got through it, but it was like this is like a serious open heart triple bypass surgery, and
Yeah.
then it was like we got to wait 6 months or like four months or something. And I remember that was like added this anxiety to my life where I was like,
Absolutely.
you know, my dad was always like, you know, he's always there, he's always goofing around, and now he's like he's concerned, and you
Yeah.
know, and it was like that became really concerning. I'm working at this accounting firm in tax season and I'm sitting in the office just worried about my pops like is he going to be good. And
Yeah.
I remember I came home one day and he was sitting in the back couch and he was like sweating and he was like dizzy. And then my mom and dad or my mom and my sister are there and they're like he's not feeling well. And I'm like, well, have you guys called
Yeah.
the called 911? Like this
Yeah.
could be like like he's got to go in for the heart surgery. Like this got to be heart related. This can't not be heart related. Like let's
Yeah.
call 911. So I'm sitting there in the back like calling 911. We went across the street. There's like ER doctors that live across the street. So we
Okay.
bring them in and then the ambulance comes in, takes them out of the house, like rushes them to the hospital and then it was like we didn't really know what was going to happen or what was
Yeah.
happening. And I remember that was like super like stressful moment of just
Yeah.
like what the heck's going on? This is heavy. And then it ended up just being vertigo, but
Okay.
like he never had vertigo in his life. So it was like
Yeah.
how could this like for me I'm like how could this not be heart like he's at heart surgery in a couple months like
Yeah.
this has got to be something to do with the heart.
Yeah.
But it ended up being vertigo and I came back I was like all right like kind of a sigh of relief. But at that moment like at that point I was just like full blown smoking weed like every single day. And um it was just became like kind of like my escape
Yeah.
a little bit. I would just go and just smoke and um that was kind of like what I was doing to kind of cope with hating my job. Um, is dad going to be okay?
Mhm.
I got to go back to school and I'm just like dreading going back to school now. And everything kind of started just like ramping up and into my own kind of physical symptoms. Like I had this
Yeah.
anxiety and then um I remember like it was like I convinced myself I had a heart attack. I remember I took like an edible or something and I got too kind of up there and then I
Yeah.
convinced myself the next day I had a heart attack, my heart was hurting. And then all of a sudden these physical symptoms started to like develop where, like, I'm feeling like I'm having a heart attack. I started getting these, like, I'd go
Mhm.
into the office and I started getting these panic attacks. I never had a panic attack ever, but it was like I was, like, worried about my heart, and then I was, like, worried, then it became, like, increase in, um, what's heart rate, and then it was just, like, I got dizzy, and then I
Mhm.
was, like, fully in these panic attacks, and I remember, like, I was in this office, like, I was like, "I can't even go into the office anymore." Like,
Mhm.
I started developing this, like, really, like, bad anxiety, like, almost like these thoughts were so not rational, like, almost I was reading actually a Jordan Peterson book, and he actually described what it was, and it was 12 Rules for Life, and I remember he kind of completely described what was happening, like, these unrational thoughts were, like, just I would just go with them, and I would, like, kind of listen to them, and they were not like, I'm sitting here, I'm okay, but um, these symptoms just kept like, heart increasing and
Yeah.
anxiety, and it was like almost paralyzing. And I fully got in this negative feedback loop with my mind and just
Yeah.
convinced myself these things were wrong with me. I started looking up online like symptoms of a heart attack or like,
Always a bad idea.
oh my goodness. And I went down this deep hole, and that was like making me more worried.
Yeah.
And my dad had still had to go in for his surgery, and now I'm going through this crazy kind of, like, moment of mental and stress, and to the point where I had to quit my BDO job. I couldn't go into the office, couldn't leave my house. Like, I was just, like, so much anxiety, and it was, like,
And at
waking up
that point, did you
yeah.
recognize that's what it was, or did you still think like, "This is my heart, this is my
This is my
physical
heart.
health?"
It was
Yeah.
like I went in, I got it checked out. I went to the hospital. They're like, "You're good. Like, there's nothing wrong with you." Or, like, I would get all this I got my heart checked. I got the Holter monitor put
Yep.
on for 3 days to make sure that it was nothing heart related,
Yep.
but I was still kinda convinced,
Yep.
and then, during that and this timeline's not exact, but, like, this is kind of all kinda happened,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
years 2 to, like, 4 in university,
Mhm.
and, it was yeah, like, it was just so bad, and I was like, what do I do?" I was going into, like, my doctor. I was like, "There anything that you guys can do? Like, any pills that you could put me on? Like, is there any, like, medication? Like, I can't function right now. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing." And then it started leading to, like, that depression
Yeah.
where it was like, I can't leave the house, I'm not hanging out with friends, I'm not leaving my room,
Yeah.
and all day long, I'm worried about if I'm dying pretty
Yeah.
much, like, is there something, like, really
Yeah.
bad wrong with me?
Mhm.
And that just took over my life for, like, months, and
Yeah.
it was like, "Whoa," like, this is the way I describe it is like, "Am I ever gonna feel happiness again?"
Yeah.
Like, that was kinda that moment where I'm just like, I don't feel nothing's like, there's just dark. It was this
Yeah.
darkness over me, and I'm like, "Just can something help me? Can
Yeah.
something help me?" And I was going in to the hospital, like, asking, like, "Is there any, like, medication?" Um, and then so he put me on this anxiety med
Mhm.
where it was just an anxiety medication,
Yep.
and I was on it and didn't really see it. I was on it for, like, maybe, like, a month, didn't see any change, and
Okay.
then it was like I went back in, and they were like, "Oh, we wanna put you on a, antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication."
Yep.
Um, and I remember the first month or the first week, sorry, I got put
Yeah.
on this thing was
Yeah.
the worst week of my entire life, like,
Yeah.
can't even explain how bad that week was in terms of,
Mhm.
like, you're thinking what it does like, what it did to my brain, like, it was like my thoughts were so dark, and
Yeah.
I'd never experienced anything like that, and it was, like, to the borderline where I didn't trust myself, like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
around anything, like, I just didn't like, and I never felt that way before. I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I actually don't trust myself with being alone," like,
Yeah.
and that was, like, a scary, scary kind of thought pattern that I'd never experienced before.
Yeah.
Um, and so I got put on those meds, and at that point, I tried to stop smoking, and I tried to, like, stop drinking, 'cause they said you can't do that on those medications.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but at that point, up to that point, I'd been smoking so much and every day, and it was like became like a
Not
part of my
that easy.
routine.
Yeah.
And to stop that and then be put on these things and that are rewiring my brain,
Yeah.
it almost got worse. And I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, now I'm like kind of taking these things that are messing with the chemicals. And that gave me anxiety too, because I'm messing
Yeah.
with the chemical balance in my brain. It's not working.
Mhm.
And now I'm just totally like borderline, like almost like schizophrenic. Like I couldn't like my thoughts were like so
Racing.
irrational,
Yeah.
and I couldn't hang out with friends. I couldn't leave my house. I quit my BDO job. But at that point, it was around 2020, 2019, 2020, right when that
Yep.
COVID
Yep.
situation was approaching.
Yep.
So no one was like allowed to leave their house. So it was
So you
almost
could
like
kinda hide in it.
it kinda gave me like, oh, like everyone's kinda inside right now. Whereas if this was happening the year before and everyone's like, I'm supposed to be at school, like you weren't allowed to be in class in person, so everything
Yeah.
was online. So I
Yeah.
was still kind of chipping away at the online classes. So it was for me, it was kind of like uh, some like a what's it called? Like, it was actually kind of a good thing. Like, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
because I actually
Yeah.
can't go." I actually wouldn't have been able to go to class.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to be around anyone. So, I was like, "Oh, I can kinda sit in my room and get these classes done." And, uh, I quit I quit the counting job. I was like, "I can't do this." I just was like, "Nah, I'm out. I'm getting out of this co-op program. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter."
Yeah.
My mental health is just is suffering so much right now.
Yeah.
And then so I quit that, and then I did the summer classes so I could kinda get ahead or whatever, get caught up.
Mhm.
Um, and then I kinda started to, like, feel a little bit better, like, I actually went and saw a therapist, like, I was going to a therapist, and,
And at this
um,
point, are you still on medication, or did you stop the
I
medication?
kinda was taking I don't think I ever took it properly, like, I don't think I
Okay.
ever was, like, consistent with it, and, like, I would, like, take it and then kind of, like, not take it, and I was
Yeah.
taking such a small dose, and I kinda just was like one day, I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna stop taking this," and I didn't talk to anyone. I was just I'm like, for my own thing, I'm just gonna stop taking it and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And, um, and then during that period, I kinda really, shout out to Ben, he really kind of introduced me into, like, books and, like, reading, and I then got really into understanding the mind and like understanding
Yeah.
consciousness, understanding society kind of during that period was such a weird time.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I didn't have a similar outlook on a lot of people during that time. And I started really diving into like history books and diving into like the understanding, yeah, like consciousness and like, I tried to like, like how can I elevate my consciousness? Alan Watts is a big one I started listening to, and he really changed the whole course of my life during that time. Like, really started giving me these thoughts and that I needed at that time, like about letting go, about
Yeah.
I started learning about myself, like meditation. I started like these things that I had never knew, like self awareness was what I was lacking. Like I had no self
Yeah.
awareness up to that point,
Yeah.
and that was like a big shift. Was like okay, like breathing, focusing on your breath, your thoughts lead to physical reactions and sensations, and like it's a big loop. And I was like, I really was like, I started journaling. My buddy
Yeah.
Ben was like, you should start journaling, you should write. I'm like, journaling, I'm not gonna. And then I started writing these thoughts down. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this on a paper, I'm gonna start to understand myself a little bit more, like
Yeah.
start to build a relationship with myself, understanding how I was speaking to myself.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the shift, during that period where I just got enthralled with understanding my mind and understanding myself more. And because up to that point, I had no clue who I was. I was lost.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
trying to fit in with the big crowd, ego. I would say I had an ego death, I guess would have been, the best way I could describe it.
That's a great term.
And
I like it.
yeah, it was an ego death. And it was like I had to now rebuild everything, rebuild my thought process,
Mhm.
rebuild, how I was speaking with myself. I went from my own worst enemy to
Yeah.
becoming my own best friend,
Yeah.
and I started positive affirmations. Like I remember I started even catching, um, like these negative thoughts, and just like, oh, I can just think positively. Like I don't have to get let that negative
Yeah.
thought feed into another negative. I could just be
Yeah.
like, oh, catch it. Today's a great day.
Don't
And I
even have to
remember
pay attention to it.
yes, and sorry, I'm a talker. I
Oh,
apologize
no.
that
Are you
yeah.
kidding me? Don't be sorry. I love it. You know what? I mean, I've been doing this for so long now, and we have a lot of parallels in our journeys. I mean, I spent 5 years not able to leave my apartment. I spent, the anxiety and the depression. It cost me Team Canada. So I very much understand kind of thought patterns and the effects it can have on us. And I mean, I'm listening to you speak, and it always amazes me how many of us have had similar experiences and spent such an incredibly horrible portion of our lives feeling like the only way to manage it was to be alone with it.
Mhm.
And that's why these conversations, I think, are so incredible, because I think it gives people the opportunity to sit here and hear. I mean, somebody that, not to, ruin the end of the story or anything, but we all know, kind of where you're at nowadays. And to know that this is the journey. I mean, I think it's so important for people to understand that there's so much more than just what we can perceive and what we can put forth for others to see. And I mean, I see what you do, and to me, this is far more important. Not that your content isn't important. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still debating whether or not, Nyesi ever beat Matthews at tennis.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
like I
That was hilarious. I love that interview.
I'm still loving it. But I mean, I think it's awesome, but I think it's so important that people understand kind of that journey and what actually takes place internally in order to be able to achieve purpose in doing what you're doing. And so be a talker, because that's,
Yeah.
I mean, this is the platform for it. So it's great. And I mean, so you're talking about, I'm going to backtrack for one
Yeah.
second, just because I think it's so important on that medication piece. And that
Yeah.
is, medication's not for everybody. And I think that that's absolutely true. And I think one of the things that you just highlighted that is so important to just state, because I think that you'll have a lot of people who, will hear this and may hear that. And I don't want anybody to ever think that medication's not an option as a
Mhm.
resource or as a tool. And I think that it is very valuable and necessary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's everybody's journey, but also just the piece of, I would strongly recommend working with a medical professional when going on and off
Yeah. Well,
medication.
the problem with mine is, like, I got prescribed like, it was never like a didn't get the breakdown of, like,
Yeah.
what I actually was gonna happen
Just
to
here
me.
it is, go have
It
it.
was just like, yeah, like, "Oh, like, kinda just get out of my office, like, here, I'll
Yeah.
give you prescribe you a low dosage of this thing,"
Yeah.
and
That
I
can have such a huge impact on you.
it was a
Absolutely.
massive decision, and it was like at that
Yeah.
point, but I was, like, asking, like, I was like, I had no other option, I didn't feel,
Yeah.
because I wasn't introduced to maybe a diet change.
Yeah.
Maybe have you tried meditation? Have you tried
Yeah.
journaling? Like, all
Yeah.
those options, I feel like probably maybe would have been better to maybe
Yeah.
try before getting on something that serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I felt a little, misguided,
Certainly.
from the practitioner on that, topic because, it was kind of just, yeah, here's a little, like, thing, but not no education
Yeah.
really
Well,
on
and
what this could do to you.
I think it's
Yeah.
also really important too to touch on something that you alluded to, and maybe I'm overstepping in this guess or not, but when you're living with anxiety, the thought of taking something that's going to alter your body causes anxiety.
Mhm.
When you are living with symptoms that are mimicking a heart attack or making you feel as though there's a real illness there beyond just mental illness, um, I don't think people understand the impact of having to actually convince yourself to take something that could alter that and then deal with the side effects of it and feel as though you're not now increasing your likelihood of dying. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand that piece. I mean, there's people will hand me something for like indigestion, and if I don't know the label, I'm like, dude, I'm not putting this in my body. i
Yeah.
don't i don't know what this is, and until I read the side effects, I'm not interested in putting this in me.
Yes.
So
No. 100%.
yeah.
100%.
And so
Like
I think that education piece is huge. And I think that obviously having those conversations and working with your medical professional is huge. But also, I think the other really incredible piece that you're talking about here is that journey that is complementary to what we understand kind of those traditional responses to mental health being, which are medication and therapy.
mhm.
But there's this huge holistic approach that adds to them. I don't think it has to be in lieu of, it doesn't have to be a replacement, but I think if you're not engaging in all of it, you're not
Yeah.
truly going to get to a place where you're learning to grow and move forward with that.
Mhm.
So I love hearing you talk about like getting into meditation and journaling and all of those pseudosciences that
Yes.
we don't necessarily get handed as an option. But how has that kind of played out for you? So this is like roughly 3-4 years ago. Now you're getting into kind of that self journey, which I think everybody who struggles with mental health has to go through, because
Mhm.
ultimately we don't necessarily have a system that's going to walk us through it.
Yeah.
So, where did that kind of lead you? So now you've quit your accounting co-op, you're getting through university virtually by chance and an absolute blessing in your instance without
Yeah.
anybody else having to realize that. And then you're now kind of engaging in positive affirmation, talk therapy you said, as well as meditation and really that discovery of self and that death of ego, which I absolutely love. And so where did that kind of take your path?
Yeah, so, like, I ended up graduating, like, it was like, okay, I graduated, and that's kinda when the real journey of, like, the self kind of started to develop. I right out of school, I didn't go right into a job. I ended up just going back and, like, I
Sorry,
ended
and
up
what
getting
year was that? When did you
year
graduate?
4, I mean, that would've been 2021?
Okay.
2021, I guess, would
Yep.
have been when I graduated, and then, I was like, "Okay," like, I ended up just getting a framing job, like, something completely outside of what I was going to school for. I was like, "Let me just go frame houses." I didn't know anything, I didn't know how to do it. My dad knew a buddy. I was like, "Yeah, we'll bring him on and, like, teach him how to, like, use a saw," and I was coordinated, but I wasn't, didn't know any skill, didn't even know how to use a measuring tape, but
But
it
inadvertently helping yourself too, because now
oh,
you're
it
being
was amazing.
physical.
It
Yeah.
was it was the physical piece and, like,
Yeah.
showing up and feeling accomplished after the day, like,
Yeah.
and learning, and you're just like, there wasn't this exam. No, you gotta go up and you gotta slap a wall up and you gotta feel accomplished, and everyone on the team had to be positive, and,
Yeah.
um, it was a cool crew we were working with. There was only 3 of us, and we were slapping these houses up, and it was, like, real work. Like, I'd never, like,
Mhm.
I had
Mhm.
done all these different jobs. I had done whippersnippering. I was all summer, but, like, this was like, no, we're working every day. We're there. You got to
You're
get up at
earning it.
5:30 a.m. And it
Yeah.
was such a good shift from this, like, school books thing. And then I was just like, it was just like this outlet for me, and I was like, okay. And then at that same time, that's when I really started, like, learning, like, reading these psychology. I actually was reading something I was interested in.
Yeah.
Throughout all university and high school, I never was getting to do stuff I was actually interested
Yeah.
in, so I wasn't learning these topics. But now it's like I started listening to Alan Watts, and I was like, I got really, like, in, like, Alan Watts. If no one's listening to Alan Watts, go listen to Alan Watts right now. But he, like, just the way he just he's like an entertainer with his words, but he,
Yeah.
like, describes, like, he brings pretty much this Eastern philosophy and brings it to the West, and we live in the Western society is insane,
You're not
and
wrong.
this Eastern kind of, like, um philosophy was, like, so freeing, and understanding, like, that he was talking about the rat race, how you're going to work to, by the age you get older and you realize, "Oh, I just worked all my life away and I haven't really even done what
Yeah.
I wanted to do here."
Yeah.
And, like, I remember words he was saying was like, "Find something you're passionate about, do it every day, get good at it, and then make
Yeah.
that your job."
Yeah.
Because what's the point of living a life where you're gonna go on living at something that you don't wanna do every day, to go on living, like, his words just started, like, I'm like, "He's right, like, why am I doing something that I don't wanna do to
Yeah.
go on living a life I don't wanna live?" Like, that didn't make
Yeah.
sense to me. I
Just to
was
check the
like,
boxes.
just to check the boxes. Obviously,
Yeah.
some people are in different financial situations, or in different, I
Certainly.
understand that.
Absolutely.
I had the blessing to be able to actually figure stuff out and take some time and
Yeah.
live at home, and, like,
Yeah.
and I understand that. And but at that moment, I was like, "Okay, like, why don't I take a step back, like, let's figure out what I actually, like to do."
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, he started just, like, opening my mind on just all these different perspectives, and, like, just meditation, letting go, and just, like, letting go was the biggest one, but letting go from the past,
Yeah.
and letting go from the future, this anxiety about the future, and then this depression about the past, and it was like, yo, well, just be present, just be here.
Yeah.
And that's where the creativity became, where everything emerges out of, is the present moment and your ability to be silent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And my brain in silence was not something I had experienced. And it was like this, for the first time, I was like allowing myself to just breathe and
Yeah.
be me. And I got so enthralled with, like, like, energy. It became
Yeah.
this, like, oh wow, like, I'm gonna start, like, developing my listening skills. So I'd go into conversations to, like, actually be interested in the other person, instead of, like, trying to, like, or just, like, learning just, like, social skills. Like, I was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can, like, I can bring people up with my energy or I can bring people down. And for the last 3 years, I've been depressed, bringing people down and, poor me. And instead of that, I was like, okay, like, what if I go downstairs and see my parents and, like, just be, like, happy and positive and, like,
Yeah.
this change of, like, my energy can be used as, like, a superpower to, like, bring someone up or
Absolutely.
bring someone down. And
Yeah.
then I remember this one time my buddy was coming to pick me up to go play basketball, and I was like, I just read something about this energy thing, and I was like, "Let me see if this works." I went and I just smiled. I remember
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm just gonna smile and see if he smiles back," and if he smiles back, this whole thing works, and I just cracked the code of the universe.
That's it. That's
And
it.
then it was like I went and I just smiled. I didn't say anything, I just smiled, and then he smiled back, and I was like, "Oh, damn." I remember
Yeah.
I got in the car, bro, I discovered something, and
Yeah.
that's when I like, the spiritual awakening started to occur where it's like, I just was, like, interested in people and interested in, like, shifting the way I looked at conversations, the way I looked at going into a public setting. I was like, what if I would look at someone at the cashier and be like, "Oh, I like your necklace. You have a great neck." I just was so like interested in people now and
Yeah.
like trying to make other people feel comfortable and the shift from being in my own head to like being in the world and
Yeah.
being and like seeing what was going on, seeing the environment. And Alan Watts was like saying, he goes, you can't describe yourself without outside of yourself. So you cannot describe yourself without the environment around you. And then so therefore you must be the environment too.
Yeah.
And it was like an ability to like be of the environment and look and be around and like grounding yourself and being in
Yeah.
the room. And I just really got on this crazy mental consciousness journey. And um that was like kind of the start of the creativity. I started making crypto TikTok videos about what I was learning about crypto.
Yeah.
And that kind of just made a video every single day. I was just like, I'm just gonna make these videos. I'm living at
Yeah.
home, learning about crypto. I threw some money in crypto around 2020 or whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna start this crypto company and this new kind of like I'm gonna build this crypto business because it's like the next future. It's like the government can't control it. There's no, and I was at that point I was very anti-establishment, so it was like, oh, crypto is gonna be the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was like whatever was happening in the world, like I was just like focused on my own thing. Like everyone was talking about this pandemic, and I was like, "No, I'm just locked in on my crypto right now." And I'm just like, I fell in love with this like making these TikToks. I remember it was Chips and Crypto was the name of the
I love
account,
it.
and then it was
I'm gonna have
crypto.
to. Is it still up?
I think I brought it down. I think there was some.
Ah.
I think I took it down, but
I
it
want
was
a
like,
sneak peek. I gotta see
yeah, I
this.
will. I have it all them saved, but it was
I
like
love it.
crypto talk with Chippy, no edits. I would just sit there and talk for a minute, and I
Love
was
it.
like, and I could just do like 4 of those a day, and I started just ripping these 4 videos about crypto a day.
I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm so resisting right now to get into, like, crypto talk with you and
I know. So I was big. I'm.
what NFT market you dove
Oh my
into.
god, I was working for an NFT company. I
Of
opened
course
up
you were.
Twitter, and I was in like Twitter Spaces in Discord, like becoming the
Yeah.
marketing manager for an
Yeah.
NFT, and I was like, "Oh, well, this is the future. We're all like
Not
in
gonna
these."
lie, I started down the path for a
Oh
moment, and
my
I was like, "I can't do
goodness.
this."
It was bad. I was living in these Twitter Spaces. I was making content, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I saw Austin Alexander was making these hockey skits, and this was like
Mhm.
probably 7 months later after I making these
Yep.
crypto videos, and I started making these snowboard videos. I was like, oh, let me see. I can make crypto, but I can also make snowboard videos. 'Cause I love snowboarding.
Yeah.
And then I saw Austin's video, like a AAA coaches during tryouts or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's funny. I like that. And then one day I was just in my kitchen like 12 a.m. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do a AAA coaches um during tryouts or something. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
don't telegraph your passes, boys. And then or something like that. And then that video did better than any other video that I'd done
Yeah.
in crypto. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay. The next day, what did I do? I made another hockey video
Yeah.
the next day, and that one did pretty good, and then the next day I made another hockey video, and then the next day I made another, and then the next day I made 4, and then the next day I made freaking 7.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like and I had all these I was doing, like, Chippy during tryouts, so kids were all commenting their numbers. It was like,
Okay.
do number 17 during tryouts," and I would reply to their comment.
Yeah.
17 'cause good edge work out there, and then so it was, like, this easy content to make where I didn't have to edit it. I could just
Yeah.
pump these videos. It was just, "Let me just pump these. Let me just"
Yeah.
kinda the same approach I was doing in the crypto. I was like, "I'm gonna do it in the
Yep.
hockey," and I was like, "No one's gonna make more videos than me." Like, that was kinda like this I had this
That's it.
the self-belief where it's like, no one's gonna do kind of what I'm doing right now. No one's locking in every single day, making like I made like 16 videos in a day. I was just like, I'm doing this. This is I was like, I saw it and then I was like, oh. And then I was like, I'm gonna run with this and kind of see if I can build a company or a
Yeah.
brand
So
in the
when would
hot.
you say that start? When did you start making hockey videos?
It's got to be like 2021. Like this was like the summer. It was summer of 21, right after I or maybe 22. It
So
might
like
have.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 22. And
Okay.
then it was that summer, and then I remember my buddy started a brand called Vertical and Breathing, and it
Okay.
was all about gratitude. This was like kind of like the moment we were in life. He's really into music, so
Yeah.
shout out to Oliver, and he got me in the studio. We started making music, and I remember I cried in the studio because he had just been so vulnerable on a song. And I was like, yo, I went through the same thing that you went through. And I was like, oh, like that's crazy. So he
Yeah.
got me into the studio making music, and I was like, I love that. I'm making my like kind of comedy videos at this point. And then I was like, yo, it'd be sick if I like kind of made a play off of Vertical and Breathing and did like a hockey related kind of one.
Yeah.
And I was like, style and flow, like, and so people think that flow is like hair, and it's like kind of like a double entendre, but like flow is really like being in the flow state,
Yeah.
and like this like finding your flow, and like I found my flow in creativity,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, like yeah, style, like be unique, be yourself, have your own style, and then
Yeah.
flow was like, oh, be in that flow state, and then I was
Yeah.
like, and it was kind of like if I'm gonna embark on this journey of being this creator, if I'm going into public now, I gotta I gotta have this style and flow about me. I gotta be like, I gotta have some confidence and have some swagger and kind of like embody this character, Coach Chippy, and that's what kind of became like my mantra was like, don't think, just flow, baby. Like it just became
Yeah.
this. I'm not overthinking. I'm confident in myself, um, and I'm kind of conquering this anxiety that
Yeah.
I'd gone through from 3 years, 2 years prior, a year prior, and I was like, I can go out of the house and I can, talk to people and I can, have some style and flow, and it became kind of like my like just my lifestyle was style and flow. Like let me just
Yeah.
be myself, let me be unique, and then let
Yeah.
me create something new every single day, and let me have
Yeah.
some flow, get in that flow state, whether it's hockey, whether it's making a video, not
Yeah.
overthinking anything.
Yeah.
And that's where these comedy, and then I started doing the player impersonations, and
Love it.
it was a lot more aggressive earlier when no one knew who I was. I was swearing in my videos. I was
Yeah.
like no filter. And then as I started to like, okay, like I don't need to go that, I can kind of be funny without doing that.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, like those videos were a lot more edgy, and it probably was saying a lot
Yeah.
more crazy stuff than I would say now. Because
Mhm.
as I've developed, like your comedy gets better, your sense like how I want to be perceived. Like
Yeah.
it was like instead of just being this, I was like, I just want to be this like in your face person at the start, and then I was like, okay, well now people know who I am. Let me
Yeah.
actually put a better image forward.
Yeah.
Where I don't. The goal with any of these videos is not to make um anyone feel bad about, like, that's
Yeah.
never an intention. It's really just to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And that really, as I went through that awakening journey, became like my mission or my purpose
Yeah.
was if I could make one person laugh today, it was a good day. And
I love it.
that became the whole Coach Chippy's purpose in life was like, I'm just gonna try to make someone laugh and not take life too seriously. Because up to that point, I was taking myself too seriously. I was not letting go, and it was like, let me let the
Mhm.
universe, like trust the universe,
Yeah.
trust the world, trust however you look at it. And it was, for me, it was like just trust the universe, let go. And
Yeah.
then even now, I used to get so much anxiety on planes. Now I just get on there, shut my eyes, let go. Like I have no
Yeah.
control. It was
Yeah.
like, and that's what Alan Watts says. It's like I'm not even in control of my body doing its amazing thing right now. My
Yeah.
body's pumping, my heart's doing. I'm not controlling that.
Yeah.
It's just happening. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my goodness, like I had been in the constant need to be in control,
Yeah.
where I can now just let go. I go
Yeah.
on the plane, I got no control. It's if it happens, like anything can happen, and I got no control over it. So let me
Yeah.
just not worry about it. And
Yeah.
then that was like this freeing, like thought process on life. Like I got no control how anyone else reacts. I can only control how
Yeah.
I react.
Yeah.
And it was like I can protect my energy,
Yeah.
and it's like I used to, I went through a lot of things with different relationships and friends, and being able to protect your energy and let go
Yeah.
and forgive, and then
Yeah.
forgive yourself for stuff that you may
Yeah.
have done in the past. And so it's been a healing journey now because I wasn't the best human being in high school. I didn't even know who I was. I
Yeah.
was, you're going to
Yeah.
parties, you're out of your mind doing stupid stuff. And
Yeah.
so I've had to process it and be like, I've had to forgive myself and
Mhm.
know that and grow and learn from it.
Yeah.
And, but also being able to forgive other people and not being a victim has been
Yeah.
a big one too. And so being able to forgive has been a huge like healing process for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not a perfect human being, and I'm never gonna claim to be that, and I'll never judge anyone else for what they do because I know there's stuff that I've done that I'm not proud of, and being able
Certainly.
to, yeah, just be able to forgive yourself and also forgive others is like a big one. And just the empathy, I've been trying to develop more empathy for others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you go on this massive kind of healing journey, and I feel like that's where I'm at. I'm still healing right now, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at on the journey.
I don't think it ever stops. I think that's the coolest part of it. I think the more that you open yourself to learning and being open to what you don't understand and you don't control, the more you actually allow space for these things to become obvious. And I mean, like, I'm sitting here like in and out of goosebumps just listening to you because I relate so strongly to a lot of it. And I think that one of the coolest things is when you get to a place in your recovery or in your healing, um, in your growth. I mean, I think that that's just a constant journey. I think that if we ever feel as though we're healed or we've grown or we're there, I think that's when we find ourselves back in a state of anxiety and in a state of panic, because that plateau is deadly. Complacency is deadly. And I think that it's really just allowing ourselves to be present every day and recognizing that that's what we've got. And I love it too, like with your brand name. I mean, style and flow, and I mean, it's really just kind of flowing with being with the present too.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so great, and so many people kind of catch on to it, and you can, make games of it. Your top of your TikTok, I think you got Connor Bedard there fixing his hair, doing the flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so certainly ways to play off it. I mean, for me, I hashtag mentally fit a lot, and it's everybody kind of looks at mental fitness, and for me, it's actually something so much deeper than that. It was an idea that was presented to me by Dr. Peter Jensen years and years ago, and Peter really kind of approached mental health as fitness. He approached it in a way that I was able to understand it differently in terms of managing it better for myself, because it was conceptual to me. I mean, when I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression and OCD and agoraphobia, um, it was also conceptual. It was like, okay, this isn't just in my head. This isn't just like you've just diagnosed me with a bunch of stuff that doesn't match with Team Canada goalie, daughter of great parents, friends. I've got friends. I've got, this doesn't match to me. There was no, and it was that piece of control. It was that piece of feeling like I had all of these things. But when I learned mentally fit, it was really the concept of being able to challenge myself mentally and challenging the fitness of my mind and take a look at it differently than what I understood it, not just accepting that it's, something that has to be, but instead something I don't have control over everything. And what I can control, I will work to improve, and what I can't control, I have to work to accept. And we tend to assume those things will happen for us. And I think that people don't like to participate in ways like meditation or
Mhm.
journaling because it's uncomfortable. It's
Mhm.
really uncomfortable to look yourself in the mirror and pull apart where you haven't done well and show up differently. And I
Mhm.
think that, watching even what you just said about your earlier content being a lot harder and a lot more aggressive, and feeling like you had to work hard to offer what comes naturally and gives you purpose anyway. And I think that kind of journey into a softer presence is really just purely your kind of growth journey and healing journey on display for everybody. And people, I get that that's going really deep for hockey videos for a lot of people, but at the core of it, I mean, it's really watching you come into peace with who you are and show up differently, and I think that's just incredible.
Well, I appreciate it. It was like a, yeah, I guess it was at the beginning. You're trying to, you're trying to build a presence. You're not, no one
Prove
knew,
yourself.
no one prove. Yeah, it's like no one knows. So it's like, how
Yeah.
can I add shock value? And
Yeah.
that's what's scary about the internet is that like it's shock value now. It's like, how can we take it to this next level?
Yeah.
And, I was seeing like the views go up and you start like being so attached to, like, how the videos are performing that how do I top that? How do I
And the
top
chemical response you get from that.
Oh, the dopamine. I'm
Yeah,
talking about dopamine and, like, it's insane, like, the level of dopamine you receive if your video does really well and
yeah,
you have millions of views, people commenting, "Oh, this is awesome." Like, that dopamine is nothing there's nothing like that. Like,
no,
there's, alcohol, there's drugs, but, like, the dopamine of, like,
the
that
validation.
validation and,
Yeah,
like and I actually made a song called "Validation Seeking," and, like, I just there's and I got into music. Music became my outlet even throughout this creator influencer journey, and how,
which is
it
also a lot. Like, I
it's a
mean, let's not
lot.
downplay it. It's a
Yeah.
ton of work. I'm 44 years old, and I mean,
Yeah.
I've been working as a professional speaker now for 14 years, and I wish I was at a point in my life when I could put as much into making content but that's just not realistic for me. I have kids, I have,
Yeah.
other focuses that have to take that, but it's a lot of work. Like, you're not this is no, like, you describe it like I'm putting out a video in half an hour, fine, but this is a full-time gig.
It's more the mental
Yeah,
it's the
and people
mental
don't recognize it.
gymnastics that you're in, like, you're like because like I said, your videos aren't doing as well as they used
Yeah,
to, and now you're in your head about, "Oh, am I not funny anymore? Do people am I able to make a video that's that successful?" You start getting attached. So seeing that success is great,
uh,
but then having to, like, follow up that success with every single video and you want to
yeah,
top it, and it's like that side is not really seen too much, but, like, on the mental aspect, it's like, "Oh, like, Chip's just making these funny videos," but it's like, "Oh, like, I've been like, oh, I'm trying to like, how can I make this funnier? How can I
yeah,
add something? How can I top it?" And then that
yeah.
became like I've had my own kind of battle with that with the self, and it's like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to make someone laugh, or am I doing this
To seek
for to
validation.
seek validation and see how many views I can get? And
Yeah,
that becomes a kind of a crazy space, especially if someone wants to become a creator.
yeah,
Like it's like this has its own set of mental it's not I wouldn't say it's
absolutely.
physically hard, it's just mentally,
Mhm.
um, tough, and it's like when you see the success, it's like, "How can I, like, continue to be at the top of the game?" Or, like, "How can I continue to, like, be seen?"
How
And
much
it's
does that
been
weigh on you now? Like, how much does it weigh on you day to day? You wake up, and I mean, at the end of the day, like, how old are you now?
I'm 25.
So you're 25, and you're clearly doing well. I mean, what's your follower count? Give me your numbers.
I don't even know, I
Roughly,
mean, it's
roughly.
probably around, like, 1,000,000 across all platforms, like,
Okay,
probably around
so,
there.
you're looking at that, and that becomes your livelihood, that becomes the next thing, that becomes your future and your plan. I mean, how much does that weigh on you? Every day you wake up, are you gonna stay relevant? Are you gonna be
Yeah.
able to continue with this?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's like for me, I've actually taken a break recently. I'd never taken a break. It was like
Yeah,
2 years, like, I came on the scene hot. I was every
yeah,
day a new video,
yeah,
and I feel like I needed to do that in order to, like, build this thing,
yeah,
and it was like, um, now I've gone, like, a week without making a new video and not posting.
yeah,
Before, I was, like, 24 I would literally be running home to my buddies, I got, like, 11 minutes to post this video. And I'd be like I'd
yeah,
just, like, film, like, a reaction video, and for me, it was more of just, like, making sure I did it, it
mhm,
was, like, staying true to, like, I'm gonna make a video every day, and then
yeah,
getting on this streak, I was like I made a video every day for, like, over a year, and it
mhm,
was like, "Oh, I just have to make one today." It doesn't matter if it's not good, it was
yeah,
just I need to get it out, and
yeah,
that was its own anxiety in and of itself. I
of
was like,
course,
"Oh, like, I need to
of
have a video
course,
every day," and
yeah,
then recently I went through the summer where there was definitely highs and lows, and I was just like, "Oh, like, I'm good. I don't need to make a video today. Like, let me just, like, give myself a little break." And I hadn't done that in, like, 2 years of coming
yeah,
onto the scene.
yeah,
So that was kind of a change. But having some of that space and being able to talk to some other people that are in the similar areas, like, we all kinda go through, like, that, there's times where it's like you have all the creativity and the ideas are just flowing, and then other times where you're trying to force ideas, and,
yeah,
I think it is good to still get creative and force yourself to be creative because
yeah,
it can get you back into it. It's
yeah,
hard to, like, take a week off and then, like, go and try to make a skit. It's
yeah,
like you've taken a week, and it's like whereas whenever I get up there and, like, I force myself to be creative, I'm like, "Okay, I gotta go create something."
yeah,
And it's like sitting there and then silencing yourself and be like, "Okay, what's gonna happen here?" There's no plan, but let
Mhm.
me and when the season's on, it's easier because
Of
that's
course.
kinda why I navigated to, like, the NHL kinda
Yeah.
playing off the news in the NHL because it
Yeah.
forced me to be less creative or, like, less it gave me an idea and then I could create off it, but
Mhm.
coming up with a new concept, with a new skit, a new sketch,
Yeah.
like, those don't just fly off the roof, like,
No.
a really
No.
good sketch takes some planning and takes
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
probably takes some writing, which
Yeah.
I don't like which I wasn't it wasn't my strong suit, so
Yeah.
all my stuff is improv. After the
Yeah.
game, I take whatever these little moment, "Oh, I saw that clip, Matthews with the tennis, that's funny. Let me
Yeah.
Dad, do we have any, tennis rackets?" You
Yeah.
know, and it's like, "Let me get the tennis racket in the video,"
Yeah.
and then that's where I can truly just, like, be my, like, creative self and, like, how am I gonna depict this kind of funny
Yeah.
banter between the 2 players that, I can't believe that you told the media that you know what I mean? It's like taking it serious and then making it, like, serious.
I
So
think we should
taking
challenge them to a doubles match. I'm
I
just
think we
saying.
should too.
Yeah.
I would love to get a I'm more of a ping pong guy. The tennis,
You know what?
I
Like
can't do the tennis too
I
well.
got
That
you. I
I can
got
believe in
you.
myself though. I can do the tennis
And I got
because
you. Like
I
tennis
need
was
you.
my other sport growing
I'm gonna
up.
need my partner
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm coordinated. I am coach does claim to be one of the most coordinated people on the
I
earth.
love it.
I do
I'll just
claim
put you
that.
up on the net in case they like,
Put me on the net. I'm
you
just
know.
gonna be I'll be the
I love it.
um, but
It's kind of like ping pong, right? If you're up at the net, you've
oh
just got to be able to react to that
yeah,
and
reaction.
get the
I'm
racket out.
here. I'm here with it. I'm
I'm
gonna be
in.
reacting.
I love it so much. I feel like we could talk forever here.
Yeah.
I also feel like we shouldn't talk forever because eventually people will stop listening, and that would be really sad for
Don't
them.
stop.
But I know, right? Don't please don't. Just don't go.
And I'm a
Um,
talker. I would just mumble. I now everyone knows I'm just a talker.
I'm
I'm
the
like my
same way.
dad.
We'd be in trouble. I think maybe like I think we could probably just fill dead air together
Yeah.
for hours and hours. But the beauty of it is I'm so like interested in what you're talking about because it's so much of my own journey that I'm just like I don't want you to stop because the difference between you and I is like for kids to see you, for kids to see, a young man who's come up through it, who's living his dream right now with purpose, and to, oh my gosh, I just called you a young man and I felt really old. I'm gonna need a minute to
I like
recover here
young man.
now.
I feel 'cause I feel like
I
I'm getting up
know.
there now. I'm
I
getting
feel like maybe you have to call me ma'am now or something. This just
ma'am.
got painful.
We're all young. We're all young.
Oh, and I feel it. I mean, I do
Yeah.
feel it, and that's the thing, right? Like I'm somebody who's like I work out every day. I got to stay active. I got to meditate. I got to do mindfulness. I have to get good sleep. I have to eat well. I mean, to me, my mental health doesn't stay here unless I do the things to keep
Yeah.
it there. And I think that that's so important. And I just think it's so important that guys like you are sharing this message because there's this whole population of kids out there and of men out there who still don't feel safe being honest about the journey they're on, and it's so detrimental. I mean, sadly, the statistics don't lie.
Mhm.
And when I'm looking, I'm coming into another speaking tour right now, and at the university level and at the university athlete level, you look in the US right now, suicide is the second leading cause of death of student athletes. And like we have so many new pressures and there's just like this constant, like you were talking about, our civilization is it's the rat race. It's very much you got to prove yourself 24/7 because there's no time, it's not following you anymore.
Mhm.
And here you are in an industry that is very much in the middle of that. You're in the
Oof.
middle of that industry that is like,
Yeah.
I watched something yesterday and it was this guy that was saying, I refuse to look at my phone for the first 2 hours when I'm awake because I get to choose my thoughts. I get to choose what I don't have to react to yet. And it's going to be there. It's
Mhm.
it's not it's not going anywhere. It's waiting for me to discover it and it's
Yeah.
waiting for me to become reactionary. But for 2 hours, I'm going to make the choices for myself and I'm going to do the things that I need to do so that my thoughts can be my own. And it was just so bizarre to me because it's so true. We don't
Mhm.
have room for our own thoughts anymore. And that sense of self and presence is so lost in the chaos that is the expectation and the validation and the seeking and I what you're saying is just it's so important and so relevant. I'm so grateful that you're willing to have this conversation because it would be really easy for you to just keep putting out videos and I not easy. That's not what I mean. But it would be very understandable for you to continue just having that be your focus,
Mhm.
having fun and making others smile. And I think it's so important for people to see the other side of this, which is very true to who you are.
Yeah, and I appreciate the outlet to even be able to talk about this because it kind of did feel like a therapy session a little bit, and just
I,
like I appreciate the listen, and I don't get to really show this side, and
yeah,
because it's always so goofy and like, oh, it's this happy go lucky kind of
yeah,
funny side, but yeah, there's definitely the other side, which is a lot more serious and a lot
yeah,
more kind of thought that goes into all the movement. And like for
yeah,
me, like the style and flow brand is a lot more aligned with this conversation than anything else that I do online.
yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
having this platform to be able to, yeah, talk and kind of talk about what the style and flow means to me, and like what
yeah.
I appreciate that outlet to be able to just talk about it.
Well, and I think that's the thing too, right? Both can be true. Like both can be true. You can be this happy-go-lucky,
Mhm.
fun hockey guy who's like out there and making people smile and finding such intense purpose in that.
Mhm.
And for people to truly understand why that purpose and that creativity is so important to you, this is the other piece of it, right? This is the conversation that, more genuinely connects to you and the energy that you feel on a day-to-day basis. And I don't think that there's anything contradictory. I think it's so important that people understand that both are true, both are real,
Mhm.
and that is true for most people in this world. We have this, expectation of what people are presenting us, and it's all about what you said about kind of getting curious and really wanting to offer that energy to other and connect with others. And you know I think that people lose the importance of that in their life. They're always striving for the what next, and they forget
Yeah.
the what's happening right now and what's really important at the end of it all. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'll share a story with you, and this is a really, it could come across as a really sad story, and I don't mean for it to, because that's not where I hold it in my heart. I lost my father a few months ago, and my father, like, you made my heart smile so big when you referred to your dad as pops, because that's what I called my dad, and it was just like, I'm sure if I go back on the video that I must have smiled the second you said it, because I heard it and I was like, oh, I just felt it in my heart. And it's just the honesty of that conversation. But my father, he had dementia and Parkinson's, and so unfortunately at the end he was required to be in a home. And I mean, gratefully we were in a position where we were able to be with him almost every day. Oh, every single day that he was there, my mother, my brother, myself, one of us was there. And I remember one of the days, more recently before he passed, I went in there, and unfortunately, he had some moments that were very detached and confusing, and he wasn't able to connect with reality the same way. But this goes to the importance of really being present and trying to figure out what's important to us, and giving up that control. And I think watching dementia was really
Mm.
a stark realization for me, and in really reminding me to stay present and to not try to control what I couldn't, and to not allow my emotions to fall into what I feared was coming and what I was angry about that was happening to him, but instead being grateful that I still got what I was getting. And I had this moment with him, and I was sitting with him in his room, and there was a puppy on the bed beside us, a little dachshund, and he's on the bed, and I was sitting in front of my father, and my father was sitting in a wheelchair that day, and he had taken my hand and he was holding my hand, and he started kind of like petting my hand, like and I realized he thought he was holding the dog. He was looking at the dog, and he was petting my hand as though he was holding the dog. And my first reaction was like heartbreak. That's so sad. He can't even realize this. And then my next reaction was to try not to giggle, because there was the part of it that was like, okay, this is kind of funny. He's petting my hand. And then there was just this peace that washed over me. And that peace was in knowing that he was so content in that moment. He wasn't fighting his illness. He wasn't angry or confused. In his self, he was so just in the moment of finding joy and knowing he was surrounded by love, and that there was some peaceful moment in that day for him. And it was just such this beautiful reminder of the energy of connection and perception and not having to make something what it's not, but instead existing in it as it is and letting go of that sense of ego that is needing it to be what it's not. And I mean, I heard you talking about that in that conversation of just kind of offering people the energy and meeting
Mm,
them with that and that smile and just meeting them with a smile and having no expectation other than that shared positive energy. And I just had that in such a profound moment that I was so grateful for. And it was so bizarre and so complex, but it's so simple. And
that's
it's
a
those things that matter.
I appreciate you sharing that. That's a very special moment, and,
It was
um
so cool. Like it was so cool. And it's so like I think about these moments and I'm like, wow, this is just like that's so out there. But at the same time, like, no, no, that's what matters. What matters is just showing up for each other with positive energy and good intentions and like allowing those connections to happen wherever they can, because there's enough crap in the world and there's enough bad in the world and there's enough sad and hurt, and we're all going to get hit by it. None of us gets out of here without it.
yeah,
But to
100%.
like actually focus on just being like, you know what, screw everything else, I am just going with this is great. He's smiling, I'm smiling, we're both happy, nothing is wrong in this moment.
I love that.
Right.
I love that
It's
you
just,
had that moment and that chance and that
oh, it was, you know what?
yes.
The energy of the world is I got stuck in an elevator with him a week later and I was like, "You know what? There was a day that this would have scared the hell out of me, but this is perfect."
It's
I'll never not have that moment of being stuck in an elevator
yeah,
with my father, rocking out on the music on my phone because he, like you, loved the Doors
you
and
love the
loved the
Doors, love the
classic
classic
rock.
rock.
And
Oh,
I have a playlist because music brings us back, right? Music
yes.
brings us back so deeply, and it's so profound too with dementia patients. And it's like it just music always brought him back to me. And yeah, I had to segue away from it earlier when we were talking about music because I felt it crawling up there. I
Yeah.
was like, nope, we're gonna bypass this for a minute, but I'm good now. I'm good, recovered. But yeah, like I'm so grateful for you. I appreciate you so much. We do have to touch on one more thing before I let you go. Just announced Quench Chippy Cup tourney. Let
Oh,
me hear
yeah.
about it. Let me hear
Yeah,
about it.
next summer, we're doing, next I think the end of summer, I think it's gonna be June, we're doing one in Oshawa,
Yeah,
and then I've been hearing I gotta go out east, and
love
my
it.
buddy actually just moved to Nova Scotia, and I was like, "Yo, I gotta go to Halifax." I've
Beauty.
never been, I've never seen East Coast Canada,
It's
and
gorgeous.
it's
It's
time for
gorgeous.
Coach Chip to see Canada a little bit more,
I love
and
it.
yeah, that's gonna be, really exciting, just a yeah, just a day. Just I just want it
Yeah.
to be a positive energy day. We have some fun or a weekend,
Yeah.
and it's just yeah, for me, I wanna do a lot more in-person stuff
Yeah.
just because that's what's real, that's
Yeah.
when, you can build you can
Absolutely.
connect with people and, have these types of conversations. You never
Yeah.
know who you're gonna meet, and for me, it's like being able to get outside more and do more stuff in the community and meet more people and have more meaningful conversations, like, that's really the goal
Yeah.
for me and to grow as a person. And I want to travel more. I want to see the world, and
I love
that's
it.
definitely an area that I haven't traveled enough. But I've
It's
been
beautiful.
this year. I've been on planes. I'm going everywhere, and it's been amazing. And yeah, I kind of living out my dream, I guess, in its own way. It's not how I expected it to be. There are its own challenges, and there's going to be ups and there's downs, but kind of being able to see the world and grow as a person, meet new people, and be comfortable with being alone as well.
Yeah.
And being able to you accept, and it's okay to I love being alone. I love being by myself. That's where I feel like I'm most creative,
Yeah.
and then once you really develop that relationship with yourself, being able to then know what you're looking for in a friend or someone else, right? And kind of
Yeah.
being content with who you are. And I definitely feel, yeah, this next little journey for me is definitely going to be meeting new people,
I love it.
and I'm excited for it for
When I
sure.
saw it come up, I love it. And that's why I brought it to attention because I'm one of those people who thinks that connection and community are the, two of the most important things we have in this world. And so when I saw those, I was pretty stoked for you because I was thinking, you know what, that's awesome. He gets to go out there, he gets to be with kids who are looking up to him every day. And I mean, also if you need a goalie for your skills contest,
Pop out,
I
pop
mean,
out.
I can.
Oshawa, we got Oshawa,
I'll.
you wanna go Halifax? We
I
gotta
I go to Halifax almost annually to speak out
let's
there
go,
actually.
let's go.
So it's yeah, I'll take a look at the dates. I'll try to put them in my calendar and make sure that I can schedule myself so that I'm in the right area. But if you need a goalie out there,
That would be amazing. I 'cause
love
I'd
love
love
to
to
shut
even
you
get you to
down.
talk. I'd love to get you to even talk or, like, do
Ah,
something.
for sure.
I wanna
We can
have,
do a
like, a
mental health
mental
talk.
I would love that, like, do something
Absolutely.
and I've never done, like, a public speaking like that, but it would be cool to, like
We could hook it up. We'll do like a fireside chat, like a
that'd be
little panel
amazing.
interview, and I can maybe that's something I can help ease you into a bit. You can help me with my social media
Yeah,
videos. I'll
100%,
help you
let's
feel
go.
comfortable up on stage there, sharing some different
That would be
stories for
awesome.
yourself.
I would
We're
love
in.
that. Okay,
Let's do it.
let's do it. Let's get that organized.
Okay.
2025, summer 2025.
Love it. I'm in for it. Thank you so much for staying with me here today, Coach Chippy. It was amazing talking to you, and I can't wait to see what's coming next.
Kendra, I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you sharing as well, and I'm excited to get on here again, maybe talk a little bit more, so
Absolutely. We'll sign you up.
let's go.